While chatting with my girlfriend about Pokemon one day, I shared this meme with them. I felt especially called out by it because I had two of these creatures on my original Sun team from 2016. On the one hand, there was Vitas the Primarina, a sweet guy with a good nature who I can only imagine embodies all the best gay stereotypes. And then there's this bitch. To understand why Elsa could be the world's worst Alolan Ninetales, we need a basic grasp on how stats work in the Pokemon games. All creatures have 6 stats. HP, the number of hits a Pokemon can take before it can't fight anymore. Attack, the amount of physical damage it can do. Defense, the amount of physical damage it can mitigate. Corresponding special attack and special defense stats for special damage. And speed to determine the order in which Pokemon make their attacks. Each species of Pokemon has fixed base stats, but an individual stats are also influenced by their level, nature, effort values, or EVs, and individual values, or IVs. Both of the latter two factors slightly boost a given stat, but while EVs are gained through defeating Pokemon of a given species, for example, gaining 2 speed EVs after defeating an Alolan Ninetales, individual values cannot be changed. Generally, a Pokemon is considered good when it can lean into its strengths, and for Alolan Ninetales, with its low HP, attack, and defense, but okay special attack and solid special defense and speed, that means playing team support while throwing out special attacks as needed. Ideally, the EVs, IVs, and nature would support this by boosting speed, HP, and special attack, paying no mind to attack and defense. In this vein, we find that Elsa is proof against an omnipotent god, who I'm sure would have gotten the memo by now. A few years ago, I installed custom firmware on my 3DS, which, among other things, allowed me to use cheats through the Checkpoint app. At first, I was delighted to find a cheat that would show IVs and EVs by holding start and select while viewing a Pokemon's stats. I was slightly less delighted to find that it didn't work. Without this cheat, I'd have to use an online IV calculator, namely the one from Cerebi.net. It calculates IVs from the Pokemon's level, stats, nature, and EVs. The first 3 can be found from the in-game stats screen, while the 4th can be determined with the aforementioned cheat that didn't work. Thankfully, I found the second best thing, an infinite berries cheat. There's a group of 6 special berries that, when fed to a Pokemon, make it more friendly towards you at the expense of 10 EV points in a given stat. Using these, I could reset Elsa's EVs to 0, thus eliminating the hardest variables to find manually. Having done that, I measured Elsa's stats at level 69, 70, and 71 to get her IVs. Before we dive into that, though, I should note that Elsa's nature is lonely, which boosts attack by 10% and lowers defense by 10%. We'll put a pin in the attack boost while we zero in on defense. With that, you may be saying, "Tell us, Laura, what exactly is Elsa's defense IV?" Well, I couldn't tell you who Laura is, but I can tell you that Elsa's defense IV is 31. For comparison, there is none because it's the highest an IV can possibly go, and yet it's the same stat that's lowered by her nature. What the magic fade We can only go down from here, and in that vein, we find the next highest IV, which is HP at 29, followed by attack at 27. This means that Elsa's 3 worst base stats have her highest IVs. Now there's nothing wrong with high IVs in a useless stat per se, but I'm surprised Shakespeare didn't think to reference this when writing his Comedy of Errors. Or maybe he did, and the main characters being identical twins is a reference to Elsa's special defense and speed IVs both being 22. So far so good, right? Despite a functionally useless nature that fails to synergize with her only perfect IV, at least her other IVs are good, right? So that means her special attack IV must be comparable. It's 4. Yes, her primary attacking stat has a significantly worse IV than her literal lowest base stat. Do you see now how she could be the worst Alolan Ninetales? Oh, but it's not over yet, my sweet little box of escalators. Remember how Elsa has a stellar attack IV and an attack boosting nature? Well, a consequence of this is that, EVs notwithstanding, her attack stat is notably higher than her special attack despite almost all of her attacking moves being special. With Ice Shard being largely redundant due to her high speed, what am I supposed to teach her? Giga Impact? Should I rename her to Megamine because she has exactly 1 viable attack and it makes her a sitting duck after dealing lots of damage? Actually, scrap the Megamine thing because Elsa's statistically worse girl. She's an irritable loner who spends her days holed up in an icy cave, playing League of Legends and collecting, I don't know, women who had their boobs signed by Brendan Urie. The moral of the story, frankly, does not exist. And I would have ended the video there, but while I have your attention, I'd like to announce some fun new stuff I have coming up for the rest of 2025. For example, there's this... There's a parallel universe where together forever is the standard Rickroll instead of never gonna give you up. Search your heart, you know it's true! I'm filming the video about the Alolan Ninetales and, my 3DS just crashed. I've never seen it crash before. First time for everything.